In this first section, let's begin by asking what may seem like an obvious question, which is, why would anyone want to work for you? Why does any person ever agree to commit to working for a team? If a team is the vehicle that takes us from where things are now to where we would like them to be, what reasons motivate someone to give themselves to the service of being a part of that vehicle? Because the last thing that you want is to be traveling with a vehicle that can't hold itself together. In nature, different forms of life have different core motivations. Think about training a dog, for example. Maybe you've heard the saying that the way to a dog's heart is through its stomach. As predator animals, one of the most natural and powerful ways to recruit a dog's cooperation is with food. Their brain is set up in such a way that nothing quite gets their attention the same way that food can. Well, what about a horse? As prey animals, their core biological motivations are different. While it's said that dogs are looking for supper, horses are looking for safety. All good horse training programs understand this and will use that natural need to show the horse that the safety their brains long for can be found in cooperating with humans. So what about humans? What is the core biological motivation at work in our brains? It's not simply the pursuit of supper like it is for dogs, or the pursuit of safety like it is for horses. Humans seem to be in the pursuit of something else a bit more sophisticated, and it's critical to understand exactly what that is. We're fortunate now to know quite a lot about the various chemicals that work in the human brain and how they make us feel. And here's an important summary. We all know that we feel good when we achieve a goal, but the vast majority of our positive emotion is experienced not by just realizing our goals, but most of our brain's reward system is active when we perceive that we are making progress towards a goal. And this is the basic biological motivator that all humans seek: perceived progress towards a goal. So at the bare minimum, if you want a team that will attract and keep the cooperation of other people, you have to make sure that your project has a way of providing for them the natural thing that they are looking for, which is progress. Now, what kind of goal? Because people are different and have different kinds of goals. So how can we make sure that we're offering progress towards the goal that they want? Well, all human goals fall into one of 5 different categories. Sometimes I refer to these as the 5 flavors of why. Because when someone is asking themselves, why am I doing this? The answer is always one of these 5 goals that fit into these different categories. Every single human behavior is motivated by one of these 5 flavors of why. Every single person on your team is there because they are working to realize a goal of one of these 5 types. If a team is like a vehicle, then these are like the glue or the welds or the bolts that attract and bond the systems of the vehicle together. And just like how glue won't bind as strongly as perhaps a weld, it's important to know that these incentives don't all have the same holding power either. Some of these goal types that motivate people will do a better job than others for incentivizing long-term cooperation. So in the next video, let's go through each of these 5 categories. When you're building a team that relies on human cooperation, it is a basic necessity to understand how to offer the kind of incentive people are designed to pursue. When we talk about a person's desire to perceive progress towards a goal, there are 5 different categories that those goals can come in. This is universal for all humans. All human behavior, anything anyone has ever done, can be understood as the pursuit of one of these types of goals. To understand where these categories come from, imagine putting an intelligent agent like a human into a totally new environment for the very first time. What should this agent do? As any agent goes through the journey of adapting to a new environment, they will naturally develop through 5 different stages, each oriented around trying to accomplish specific types of goals. The kinds of goals an agent will pursue will emerge in the same order. For human beings, we develop through these stages as a species throughout our history of adapting to life on Earth. But you see the same pattern play out in big ways, in small ways. of the same stages in the same order every time an intelligent agent begins to adapt to a new environment. Let's imagine the scenario of someone crash landing on a desert island as an example. What kinds of goals would emerge as this person learns to adapt to this new environment? The first kinds of goals that emerge are, of course, survival-oriented. How do I survive? What can I eat? What will keep me safe and warm? These kinds of goals that satisfy basic biological needs for the system, we call these red aims. Organisms that don't solve those problems first will cease to exist, so we have to learn how to solve these kinds of problems first. After survival needs, the natural next question becomes, well, what else is here? There's a lot more to understand about an environment than simply how it relates to basic survival. What are this world's rules? And how can I understand those rules well enough so that I can conform to them? For example, this island has tides, so you probably shouldn't build a fire too close to the shore. Or this island has crabs, so you probably shouldn't leave your coconuts on the ground. In this stage, an agent is oriented around a desire to understand and conform to existing rules in that environment. We call these kinds of goals amber aims. So what happens after someone has learned all of the rules that are presented to them by the environment? Well, that naturally lays the foundation for them to start to create their own rules. Who says things have to work this way? How else could things be if I wanted them? This is the stage where an agent starts to impose their own rules onto the environment. It's a creative stage. Think of the Swiss Family Robinson and their innovative tree houses. Just because the island or the environment says that things work a certain way, that doesn't mean that we can't make things work the way that we want them to. The word to associate with this stage is achievement. Goals that are oriented around a desire to achieve the next level or to achieve what could be possible are what we call orange aims. You'll often see orange aims associated with numbers, trying to achieve the next highest number, a faster level of performance. As more achievements are made in the environment, the agent will begin to discover that the environment has changed. They have access to more options that provide them with the ability to explore preferences. What kinds of things and experiences that now exist in this environment do I like best? All the achievement from the orange stage expands the possible options that an agent can explore. The concept of self-actualization, or doing more of the things you personally enjoy and want to pursue, becomes really important in this stage. These kinds of goals, oriented around now actualizing individual preferences, are what we call green aims. Now, at this point, you may be recognizing just how much of human dispute is a result of people having different colored goals. This is the way that the world works, and we need to follow these rules. And another group of people saying, says who? We can make the world work whatever way we want. And then another group of people saying, yeah, and I want a world that satisfies my specific tastes. The first four stages kind of have a problem all on their own, which is that they can't agree. For that, you need the help that comes from the perspective of the last stage. Let's think about our little character here, who through achievement is now in a situation where he can enjoy all the best things that this island, this environment has to offer. He's built machines that help him capture all of his favorite kinds of fish. He's got a great shelter to rest in. In some ways, you could say that he has achieved it all. But is access to all those pleasures enough to keep him happy forever? No. Unfortunately, because of how our brain chemistry works, even the things that we enjoy the most will lose their novelty after enough exposure. So what happens next? What else is there? And that's an important question, isn't it? Yes, what else is there? To answer that question, he builds a boat and sets off to explore. And what does he find as he explores what's beyond his own world? What does he find? Another island with another person. going through the same developmental journey that he was going through. Where before, there was only one story of his own individual experience in his environment, now there are two. And here's the most important thing. The story of those two stories is an individual story all on its own, which means it's capable of going through the same developmental stages. So think about it. What's going to happen to this larger story? The story of these two neighbors and their relationship. Is that story going to continue? Is that story going to survive? If it does, if the story does continue, it will be up to the choices and the actions of these two people. And that is what the final stage is all about. It's when you see the actions and the choices of your own individual local story as playing a role in the part of a bigger story. A goal oriented around your actions helping a higher level story to at first simply survive, to continue, but maybe eventually to thrive. When your goals are oriented around trying to help a bigger story to survive and thrive, that is what we call a blue aim. It's the kind of aim that extends into a higher level story. Now, what's really helpful about having this kind of goal is that the higher level system, the bigger level story that you're a part of, gives context and provides order to the individual level goals of the agents who are participating in that story. Yes, of course, I still want to survive, but now I have something that I am surviving for. Yes, it's important for me to understand and keep rules and to understand the way the world works, but what rules am I keeping that play a role in part of this bigger story? Yes, it's still fulfilling and exciting for me to achieve new levels, but what are the goals that I'm setting and how do they affect the bigger story? How do they help it move forward? Yes, it's still fun and enjoyable to indulge in life and to enjoy the things that I like, but how much of my own personal satisfaction is more important than this bigger mission that I believe in? This relationship between how the goals of an individual affect the whole, and also how the needs of the whole affect the goals of the individual, these are the foundation for building a strong and resilient team. At any given time, any agent is in the pursuit of one of these kinds of goals. Think about your team. When someone asks themselves, why am I doing this? The answer will come in one of these 5 flavors. I'm a part of this team because I'm trying to keep food on the table. That would be a red-oriented perspective. I'm doing this because that's what people do. Maybe this is the kind of job that my parents wanted me to have, and so I'm conforming to some sort of set of rules that has been given to me. That would be an amber perspective. I'm doing this because I want to achieve the next level. I had a salary that was at this level before. I'm part of this job because I want to achieve a salary that's higher. I'm a part of this team because the work that we do is just something that I am passionate about. I'm a motion graphics artist. I'm a web designer. I like that industry. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, because I personally like it. Or finally, I'm here because I'm playing an important role in part of a bigger story. I can see that the actions that I'm taking are helping to realize a version of the world that I believe in, that I want to see become real. Once you get familiar with all these colors of aim, you'll start to see them everywhere. Now that you have an introduction to this framework, let's see some examples of how this applies to founding and leading a team. As the leader of a team, what is the reason for why your team exists? If you're a founder, you probably organized your team to help you realize a goal. That goal, whatever it is, fits somewhere into this framework. I asked one investor why he started his business, an investment fund with just under $1 billion in assets, and he told me, I wanted to make money because I was just so sick and tired of being poor. For him, his business started as a way to avoid literal physical suffering, and that's okay. I've met others who founded companies simply to satisfy their parents' expectations. Some who think of business like a game and want to achieve a high score, and many who saw business as a vehicle to achieve a desired lifestyle. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of these goals. Maybe you can relate. I know that I certainly can. The only question you need to ask is, how well is this working? The color of the why that you use to fuel your team has deep ramifications. I did some work helping a technology consulting company in Seattle called Fresh Consulting to refine their aim. And at the time, for a few months, the founder had settled into sharing in their team meetings a phrase that had kind of turned into their mission statement. And that statement went like this: our mission is to become the most innovative company in Seattle. Well, with your understanding about this framework of the different colors of why, what is your assessment for where an aim like this would fall into this framework? Well, it's not a goal to simply exist next year, right? So it's probably not red, and it doesn't seem to provide any direction on the role that the company is playing in the part of a bigger story, so it's probably not blue. If it was an amber aim, it would probably be something like, our aim is to keep doing what consulting companies do, right? It would kind of be like a definition of what a consulting company is. And if it was green, it would probably say something like, our aim is to keep doing the kinds of work that we enjoy, that we like the best. We're doing this work because it's something we're passionate about. The fact that the statement has the word most here is kind of the biggest tell. It falls into the achievement category. It would be similar to a name that would be something like, we're trying to be the fastest blank or the highest market cap startup, right? It's achieving a level of performance. But that was just the phrase that the leadership had seemed to settle on. But I wanted to know more about what individuals in the team thought the purpose or the aim of the company was. So we did some research. We set up a simple survey that asked people what they thought the company's aim was. You can see the spread of responses here, with a few examples that read like the following. Here we have, be the best software hardware company in Seattle while creating great experiences for our clients' projects. And you can see there's tones in there of being the best, right? Or trying to achieve the most. Some of the other statements that came back were things like, be the specialist that other companies need, but do not have enough need to hire full time. Okay, interesting. Our purpose is to offer high quality services in exchange to remuneration in the form of money, which is essentially the definition of what a business is. As we analyzed all these responses, we found them distributed like this. If we take a look at some of the amber aims, you'll see responses that read like, to provide digital and web consulting services for other businesses. This is what this company really does. Be the specialist that other companies need but do not have enough need to hire full time. That is kind of true. That's what they do. Provide creative, intuitive solutions for clients for both web and application creation. To offer high quality services in exchange for remuneration in the form of money. You'll see that these statements all have in common that they're all basically kind of like a dictionary definition of what a technology consulting company does. And that's a good example of what an amber aim is. You're meeting an expectation. You're meeting a standard. Our aim is to be what a technology consulting company is. And that's it, right? So that's the mindset of an amber aim. It's just our job is to be what we are. Taking a look at some of the orange aims, you'll see that they kind of mirror the founder statement, which makes sense because the founder statement was also largely orange. That was what was being broadcasted and communicated most to the team. To be the most innovative technology services company in Seattle. It's said every company meeting. To become the most innovative company in Seattle. To be the most innovative company in Seattle, right? Same kind of idea there. Let's come back to the green ones here in a second, but let's take a look at a few of these statements that had an element of blue to them. These express a bit of a role to play. For example, to create the next generation of innovative and inspiring products, digital or physical, in a world where these two spheres are rapidly coming together. So this statement seems to have a perspective that there's an environment, there's a role that we're playing in part of a bigger picture. And we're playing a part in that story, and some of that seems to be expressed inside of this statement. We had another example here to help people and companies innovate as we transition further and further into the digital age. It's kind of vague, but you can see how this sort of seems to give off a sense that we're playing a part in a story, in something that is happening in the world around us, a critical role to play. And some of that is expressed inside of these statements. Coming back to the green statements, we had some examples like to delight our clients with expertise, creativity, and hard work. You can see this has a sense of this is something that we're passionate about. The reason why we do this is because this is something that we enjoy doing. But one of the statements in particular was one of the most interesting because I think it cut to the heart of the organization's true but unarticulated goal. So this person references the founder statement, the statement that was communicated in a lot of the meetings, be the most innovative company in Seattle, but that seems vague and unimportant. In actuality, I think the goal is to make money, to create a comfortable life for ourselves and our families while doing work we enjoy. That benefits the community and world when possible. You can see elements of calling out sort of that orange achievement to be the most innovative company in Seattle. And then we have sort of this green-oriented aim. The goal is to make money so that we can have a comfortable life. That's what we want. It's a comfortable life for ourselves and our families. What kind of lifestyle do we want? We want to be doing the work that we enjoy. This seems to take on sort of the primary goal that's expressed in this statement. And then you do have an element, that's that blue sort of playing a role in a bigger story element there. Our work would benefit the community and the world when possible, but it kind of takes a back seat. So you would say that this statement primarily oriented around realizing a kind of lifestyle or a personal preference of the kind of work that they want to do. And this statement was one of the ones that actually resonated the most with the founders. Now, as we discuss all these different statements, none of these are necessarily wrong. These are mostly just choices that you need to make for what kind of culture you want to have in your team. But the biggest problem is that they're just simply not the same. There's quite a large spread throughout all the different team members in this team. Just think about the difference between that amber, our purpose is to exchange services in remuneration in the form of money statement. And some of these other ones. That's quite a big difference between how people are perceiving the role of what this company does, its purpose. So this illuminates two big takeaways. First, you have a concept of focus. Ideally, you want to have a team that all sees the purpose of the company as the same thing. They're kind of clustered around the same vision of the meaning behind why they're doing what they're doing. In the case of Fresh Consulting, we had that statement that resonated with the founders. With some thought, they decided that they wanted to help the members of the company cluster together more clearly around an aim that expressed those same kinds of tones. So as part of that project to retune Fresh's larger collective aim, we wrote and produced a video. They called it their Why We Do What We Do video. So let's take a look. Why do we do what we do? In most stories, we meet a hero in a world they already know. But the real start of the story, the start of the mission, is more closely the moment it's felt something is missing. It's that conflict, that gap between the way that things are and the way they could be. That is the root of how stories unfold, and our stories are choice in how we explore these two worlds. Some people call them the known and the unknown. The known is your world when things are familiar. The unknown is your world when things are new. Our lives seem to dance between these two experiences. The test is what you do when the world you know is now something new. If there's one thing that's unchanging, it's the fact that things change. New information, technology, new challenges, new competition, complexity, new markets. It's a chance to move forward or a chance to fall back. It's a chance to thrive and a chance to lead. Or a chance to slide, dry out, and leave. What do you do when the unknown reaches you? We choose to lead. When you cut the path, you decide its direction. That makes the future a thing we can design and build with intention. It's when you choose to go in, when your way out is through, that your engines kick in and your system boots too. The pain from the wrestle sometimes is the point, to awaken a power you can feel in your joints. That's because we're made for this stuff. We grow from the fight, to spend blood, sweat, and effort to discover new light. True innovation is hard, but that challenge has meaning. Meaning in life comes when your feet leave dry ground. It's how you grow through the challenge and when you share what you've found. To improve yourself and the world, this path is the best. It's the reason we say to each other, stay fresh. As you can imagine, this video helped the team to unite more around a common vision of why they were doing what they were doing. We're all here because this is the kind of work that we enjoy, but it also makes a big difference. It's an opportunity for us to grow. This is why we're doing the work that we're doing. So improving the focus of how tightly clustered a team is around a shared and common aim is extremely important. But a second big takeaway is the concept of aim elevation. Whatever kind of color you decide to orient around is up to you. For example, if you run a sales team which is highly achievement oriented, it might make sense to have a highly orange team oriented around a perspective of trying to achieve higher levels of the sales numbers that you got in the last quarter. That's a very common practice. But there are developmental advantages to trying to group your team around as high of an aim in the color spectrum as possible. It's just a natural next step for orange goals to eventually expire. At some point, someone will start to realize, yes, I'm making higher and higher numbers, but why? What difference does it make? And that's one of the ways in which orange will find itself expiring. It starts to look for a form of higher meaning. And as they pursue more and more of personal preferences, more and more of trying to realize the kind of lifestyle that they want to live, actualize more of, well, as you pursue that more and more, those green-oriented goals also eventually expire. You start to find yourself saying, yes, I have realized a lot of the kind of lifestyle that I want to live, but is that the whole purpose of life? Is that everything that there is just to continue to try to indulge in more of the personal pleasures that I enjoy? Developmentally, people will find themselves reaching a limit on how far that is going to be meaningful to them. And because of that, green goals will naturally expire, and people will start to look for a form of meaning that is bigger than themselves. Ultimately, the choice is up to you, of course, but here's what I recommend for most founders. The key to a team that attracts and retains the most talented people is a unifying desire. The best founders in the world build their teams by aiming at a compelling version of the future. What they want is to build a version of the future that other people happen to be excited about too. SpaceX is consistently one of the very top, most desired places to work for graduating engineering talent. And the reason why is because their goal of making humanity multiplanetary is a really compelling blue goal. People want to play a part in that story. So with this introduction to the 5 colors of AIM under our belt, let's summarize the power of what you've learned how to do in the next video. Congrats on unlocking your first new ability, an ability that we call the colors of AIM. This framework gives you the ability to understand and see something that a lot of founders only know how to feel. The colors of AIM are like the glue that binds the members of a team together. With an understanding of these principles, you can now more effectively build the foundation of a team that will scale. Ask yourself, what color is the goal, that foundational goal that is motivating me in this project? Am I being driven by the best option for what this project needs? What color are the goals that are motivating other members of my team? What options am I extending to them? You can literally choose the aims that power your organization, and that has profound effects. In fact, this is such a crucial aspect of building an unstoppable team that I highly recommend you go through the bonus material on the colors of AIM that is now unlocked at the end of this course. It provides a much deeper look into each of these stages in detail. So once you've completed the other primary sections of this program, be sure to challenge yourself and refine your mastery of these concepts by working through my advanced material on these stages. Until then, nice job on completing Colors of AIM. You've learned something most founders almost never explicitly understand in their entire lifetime. Next up, I want to show you a powerful way of thinking about teams that will help clarify exactly what a team is so you can more effectively build one.